basically, I feel like parenting has changed. We used to have community parenting, wherein my mom is in the house. Maybe I go play football somewhere and I kick the ball to their glass and they break. When we mention trauma, it's looking like, oh, we aren't supposed to have the ugly side of life. Because when you mention trauma, it's also relating to, oh, I didn't grow up with what I liked.
Yeah.
Till tomorrow, I know it's not their fault, but sometimes I blame my parents for certain things I couldn't do. At the end of the day, we mention trauma. That is why Gen Z or Gen Alpha are saying mental health. My mommy should not shout at me. Ha! They should not shout at you. How? I don't like people shouting at. We were shouted at and we learnt.
Being friends with your children means that they don't see you as the oga. They can just say anything around you.
There are people that have that colleague relationship with their parents. No, yeah, I know some people. They have.
So you see, I was walking in my area the other day, and this boy was walking towards me, and he was looking dead in my face. He just looked at me and passed. And I was wondering, what was he looking at? So I thought it was like a coincidence. I think that was the first time I started noticing it, because sometimes I go outside the gate and just sit down to look around.
Yeah,
you see kids. Yeah, you see kids passing and looking at you, and then some of them will just murmur and pass. So I figured, is it possible that this boy that is murmuring is trying to greet? Like, he's not sure whether to greet me or not. Do you get? I feel like there's this thing about this generation, and if I say this generation, I mean Generation Alpha, because Gen Z people are older now.
They don't enter 20.
You know, which enter 20. I think the oldest Gen Z should be 26 or so. So there's no sense of respect like we used to have. Yeah, exactly, regard. I think that's the word, like we used to have. Back in the day, you see, because I think at this point I qualify as a born.
Yeah, of course.
All those brother in the area, you will see them, you greet them. They will call you, you will answer, and you want to go. But this boy did not. He wasn't sure if he wanted to greet me or not.
So just murmur something and pass.
Yeah, and actually greet. And back in the day, if you did that to an older person back in the day, they will call you,
come back,
and say, "Come here." You can't greet, and then you will greet. But this time around, they don't born you well. You don't want to try it, because two things: is either he insults you. You get, because
you won't expect that he's that courageous enough to respond to you.
It's either he will insult you, because why should he greet you? Or maybe someone else will say, why are you expecting, what did they use greeting do? Exactly. I've seen people say that. What do you use respect to do? Do you think we've lost it?
See, it's not, let's not say we've lost it. There's something specifically that we've lost, like I said, regard. And it is down to parenting. It is down to how we grew up. I mean, I'm a Yoruba guy. If 5 elders sit down, you will prostrate 5 times.
Everybody, yes.
Like, so now, people, they shake.
Yeah, you want to shake you first.
You want to shake and tap at the back. Shake and, so now, two things. It's not wrong, because we can't always keep prostrating till like kingdom come. But I think the sense of regard has been lost, because, again, back to the different. By the way, we're talking Gen Z versus Millennials versus Egbons, like us. And I feel like, I know be Egbon too.
Millennial.
You know see white beards. You know see white beards. So basically, I feel like parenting has changed. We used to have community parenting, wherein my mom is in the house. Maybe I go play football somewhere and I kick the ball to their glass and they break. They feel come out spank me.
Yeah.
I dare not say, oh, Mama BC beat me.
Yeah, anybody can.
Because when I reach home, I say, Mama BC beat me. What do you do?
You add it.
But now, even in school, teachers are not allowed to discipline because of the fear of, oh, you go beat my child, injure him, you go. But we received both community beating, class beating, individual beating.
So I think that
I think parenting has
when you say beating, I think it's for
discipline.
Because when you say beating,
because people will have problem with beating.
Thank you. So it
but
will
again,
touch the sensibility of some people.
We're saying this thing off air. Our parents beat. What's the past tense of beat? Our parents were high on. Our parents were high on discipline, and they didn't care if you liked it, because they were passing a message across to you.
But did you think they overdid it? Like, did you think
It was based on what they knew. Now I'm knowing. It was based on what they knew. So, for example, our parents' era was the slave era, probably, where I feel like they were still under the colonial masters, where the mindset is, if I want to pass a message across to you, I have to flog you. I have to beat you for you to learn. I can't sit down and have a conversation. So our parents didn't have a conversation with us, which I think is what we're having now. Parents are having a conversation.
well, some of our parents, because some people's parents did.
Yeah.
Some of our parents.
So again, it was down to what they knew. I think parents who were exposed weren't faulty in that aspect. But again, parenting has changed to the extent that I have to discipline you based on if you are fine with it. But no, I know you offended something. Although we can start talking about the extreme.
Yeah.
But I know you did something bad. And I'm trying to tell you that you can't do it again. So I flog you. Maybe my dad is hearing this. My dad has finished a branch of 3. I mean finished because the cane was cutting and finishing. And he went to pluck another one. Not because he hated me, but you did something.
Yeah. So in essence, it's that I think we've come to a point where we've lost a sense of consequence.
Accountability. So I can do something because I like it. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm happy.
Yeah, as long as it makes you happy. But do you think, are there things that our parents did or their own parents did that with the benefit of hindsight, you think that it should not be like that?
That's what I said earlier, conversation. Our parents they didn't have this mindset of my child should have an opinion.
Yeah.
That's why my mom would tell me, oh, then would you me?
Yeah.
Like,
So you're looking at, I'm talking at you, you're looking at me.
I want to express myself as well. Sometimes they beat you for what you didn't even do.
Yeah, well, for
what you're And I want to tell you that this is why. But you're telling me, oh, would you me? You're even telling me I should not cry.
Oh yeah, they beat you and tell you not to cry.
Do you understand? So I think we didn't have that like you said, maybe most didn't have that conversational relationship till now.
So for the most part, many people in our generation were afraid of.
We are afraid because we didn't think we should have an opinion.
Do you think that we're reliving the trauma of how we were raised? So here's my thought. Because again, I don't like extremes. Extremes are not good. So do you think that, or rather, I think that we are manifesting that trauma, but in two extremes. Here's my thought. One end are people who want to replicate what their parents did
because they helped me.
Because it helped them, and then of course they don't know that they are reliving that trauma. The other end because they were afraid of the way their parents.
I don't want my child to be.
And I don't want my child to go through that. So we now have two divides of the people who say, "I will not touch my child. It will affect their mental health."
Let me come from this angle. Do you know why you are not so sensitive? Do you know why you grew a thick skin?
Yeah, well,
because there were times where you stand in front of your parents and they will speak spoken words into your existence.
They wash you down.
Like I have stood 2 hours. They even forgot I was standing. They now faced each other and continued to go.
They kept going.
So now, you might say trauma or whatever, but it gave me a sense of I can actually hear something and not feel bad.
You can take.
I will cry because it's hurting me.
Yeah.
But I can take it.
Yeah, but do you not think that that's actually what internalized trauma is? Like you got so used to it.
Is trauma all that bad? Let's have that conversation.
Well.
Because when we mention trauma, it's looking like, oh, we aren't supposed to have the ugly side of life. Because when you mention trauma, it's also relating to, oh, I didn't grow up with what I liked.
Yeah.
Till tomorrow, I know it's not their fault, but sometimes I blame my parents for certain things I couldn't do. When was the COVID year? 4 years ago.
Yeah, 2020.
That was when I rode my first bicycle.
So that's what I'm saying.
Do you understand?
That's what I'm saying. So, it looks like our parents, some of our parents beat us down that even our self-esteem.
Yeah, I get that part.
Was affected.
But why not say our self-esteem was toughened? Because that's the way I see it. At the end of the day, we mentioned trauma. That is why Gen Z or Gen Alpha are saying mental health. My mommy should not shout at me. Ha! They should not shout at you. How? I don't like people shouting at. We were shouted at and we learnt.
Yeah, but
we learnt because again, sorry for cutting. Again, I feel like I'm a Christian, so from the Bible, there is this heart of stone that every human has. And for you to be a parent, to bring your child under subjection, whether they like it or not, you have to do something that you are not happy with, but there's an end goal. That's why some people will tell you, oh, I still have this core. No matter where I go to, there's this core my parents built in me that I know we just they talk anyhow for social media, I'm not going to do anyhow for social media. If there's the ripple effect, but let's not focus on the ripple effect, because I feel our parents did what they could do, and that is why we are toughened.
So, do you think that parents should be friends with their children?
Now, this is the time when we have a different generation. So you can flog your children and they don't learn. In our own time, yes, some of us were stubborn, but that flogging did something. Now, if you say, some people will say, should not be flogging.
No, actually, we did that no be flogging more, because
but
it's only people that are being flogged that will say that. They know they really flog these people.
Again.
So it's we that God used to them and say, it's flogging now, no be flogging. Do you think that all of us really turned out great?
no, see, okay, me now.
Do you think that it really worked?
It worked though. Bro, it worked. Again, I'll tell you, our minds were toughened, and that is one thing that you can pinpoint. So other times, there are times where a lot of us growing up say we wanted to run away from the home because we thought our parents didn't like us, that they didn't give birth to us the way they flogged us. But over time, why didn't we run? Answer that question. I thought of running one day, that make I just wake up, make these people not see me again. Why didn't I run?
They almost be that serious. But where would you go to anyway?
Exactly. Where I had a friend, he was saying, oh, he's so stubborn that the papa they pursue him. He know they stay. So I know say one for go more 100 meters in your boys.
Yeah, most of us did that.
But at the end of the day, you knew why they were flogging you, and you will still come back to that house to sleep.
I think that if they had added a bit of
Conversation.
yeah, like flog with right hand, bring you with left hand,
never brought us with their
and
left hand.
tell you why.
They never brought us.
You know, so it's more like they actually
that why is why they don't think you should have an opinion.
yeah. So
For example, now, I've always grown up loving sports. Champions League na night game. Una no get DSTV for house. I must go out to watch it. Now, probably you are disciplining me for staying out late, or you are disciplining me for, like they will say, you are sitting among dogs. You are sitting among.
yes.
But if you were conversational enough, you will know that this guy is growing with a certain interest that he has to sustain. Most of our mates will tell you they chose their career path out of stubbornness. It was when they were now successful.
They had to
that
fight.
the parents.
The parents didn't
But
really
if
agree.
the parents made it easier, we probably wouldn't have been late bloomers.
Yeah, so it looks like you're blowing hot and cold. Like, are you in support of the old style of parenting?
It has
it worked, or that
It worked definitely, but it has ripple effects. It has side effects, and that side effect is the trauma you are emphasizing on.
So do you think that we have more to pick from it, or we have more to throw away?
No, I think we have more to pick from it, because again, so fine, I want to have a conversation with my child. I want to hear my son's opinion, but you go get time where I go twist your ear. You go get time where I go give you knock from middle of head when you feel
Yeah.
you don't like it, you are crying, I don't care. There is something I'm passing across to you. There's a lesson, and that I learned it from my parents.
But can you not impact that sense of consequence and accountability without, those
People are
punitive?
stubborn. Children are stubborn. Now, you can be lucky to have children that listen. I have people that say their parents never touched them. My mates, their parents never flogged them. The highest they did was talk. Even the talk wasn't that demeaning like some of us had. But now, to an extent, I see those people and they are kind of fragile-minded. I feel so. They are kind of fragile-minded. They can't take disagreements, because I know that this is my opinion. I want to watch ball for Champions League. My mom is disagreeing with me. To an extent, I will have to align.
So they are not
So
able
I've
to.
learned how to have a tough conversation, and even if you disagree, I don't hate you for it.
So it means that some people don't know how to be disagreeable. Like, they can't put their feet down.
And that is the side effect of today's parenting.
Do you think that parents need to be friends with their children?
Yes.
I would like to know.
Yes.
You think so too?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Because that's where conversations come in. If you don't want to hear from me, you're not my friend.
no, I mean, so do they have to be friendly with their children or be friends with their children?
What's the difference?
So the difference is that you're friendly in the sense that you're open to your children. Being friends with your children means that they don't see you as the oga. They can just say anything around you.
There are people that have that colleague relationship with their parents. No, yeah, I know some people, they have that colleague. I mean, is this time where you hear people, they are confident enough to talk about relationship with their parents? Oh, I get where I like as a teenager.
Yeah, well.
Do you understand? Yes. And you're not even 18, you have no emotional build, but just because you are feeling some puberty and hormones, you feel like nobody can question you being not promiscuous, because not all relationship is about sex, but nobody can question you for your feeling, like we were talking about off air.
Okay, so let's talk about the feeling. But before that, let's bring people in. I want to know in the comment section, what do you think about parents being friends with their children?
I'm friendly. He said they are different.
If you agree that there's a difference, if you don't, let me know why you think so. Do we have to be friends with our children, or parents need to be friends? They need to be firm as parents.
You can be a friend and be firm. Okay, we are friends.
Yeah.
Have we not
but there are things, you don't have to agree with.
So being friends doesn't mean I have to do what you like all the time. Being friends means I have your best interest at heart, even if you don't like it.
So let's talk about weakness, right? Because at the end of the day, it's millennials that are raising Gen Alpha, right?
Children are raising children.
Yeah. So they said not really children. I mean, we are millennials. We're not children anymore.
Okay. I get that part.
So I mean, for example, for a generation that's claim that they grew up under strict parenting, tough discipline, and all of that, it looks like we are breeding a weaker generation.
Because we don't want to do to them what our parents did to us.
So that's the extreme I'm talking about.
So it's not about extreme, it's about understanding when to be firm and when to be friendly. You can't be friendly 100% of the time, and you can be firm at some point in time.
I think that
it's the balance.
I think that it's something I like to call parenting by default. It looks like we are removed from the active process of parenting. We want children to just be growing. And I'm wondering why we're really talking parenting. We're supposed to be talking about the actual generations themselves.
It's still connected to the generations, because each generation has parents, which informed
like the product mindset of the parenting style. So I think that it's that parenting by default that millennials are raising weaker generation because they let children just grow.
Should I put you on the spot? Would you like to flog your children?
To some extent, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Would you like to listen to their conversation?
Oh, yeah.
So you are friends at some point, and when you need to be firm, I'm no longer your friend in that moment.
Yeah.
Because I'm your dad.
So I'm friendly. But I have to put you in your place
when it needs to. Not that because I talk to you and you feel you don't like it, you can walk away.
Yeah. Or that you don't have to be afraid of me.
Now, it comes from conversation. Because most times, have you remembered when you were flogged mercilessly and you knew you did that thing?
Yeah.
And you're not angry.
It's true. So
you cry, but you are not angry because you don't say, myself, I do this thing.
You deserve that punishment.
So
you just don't like the fact that you got it.
Now, if you have that mindset, knowing fully well that, there was a time the flogging made me realize I was wrong.
Yeah.
So why won't I flog my kid for them to realize they are wrong, even if I don't do it the way my parents did it?
Okay, so let's de-emphasize parenting. Do you think that made us strong? Do you think that we are a stronger or a better generation?
No, I won't say better, but we're a tougher generation.
Do you believe in good old days?
Of course, absolutely. I mean, like we were saying, I enjoyed community parenting. We could go from this house to the next house. How many children now go to their neighbor's house? In fact, now you can stay in an estate or somewhere and not know the name of your neighbor for 2 years.
Yeah, I not even know who they are, not even their name.
That's not the good new days. Do you understand? That's not the good. I grew up in a place where, my parents are going to work or they're traveling, and for that 2-3 days, I can go to my neighbor's house confidently and not expect any.
Actually, sometimes they will take you there themselves.
Exactly. And that parents can flog you when you do that.
Oh, yes. They become your parents for the time being.
So it's good old days. Again, I think we are just focusing on the trauma and the side effects, that we now think that trauma and side effects is a reason not to discipline.
But do you think that these days, the style of living these days, do you think it's justifiable? Because evil has prevailed more than it used to be before. People are more fearful or more careful or more cautious. You know, it can't be the way it was before. So let's zero in about the work culture, the mental strength of millennials or older generation as against these younger people who can do anything they want to do. You know, let them live their life the way
Let
they
them
want
express
to live
themselves.
their life. You know, it's no longer the same. For example, the example I gave you of the boy who did not think or who was not sure whether to greet me or not. Is it that the parents no longer say, greet your elders, or nobody cares, just do whatever you want to do as long as you're happy?
Let's relate it to education. The bulk of the recent generation have lost the idea of the learning culture. Why? Because they now see people who are successful without going to school. So if you are trying to install or impose education on your kid, the first thing they'll say is, which kid no go to school? This person, Zach Zuckerberg, he dropped out of school. That's the examples they have.
Yeah, but in the older generation, there were people who didn't go to school.
No, I know, but most
Or
of
who
them
dropped
was
out of school.
Most of them was down to conditions, not because they wanted to drop out. Most of them down, maybe the parents they go.
Yeah, no, I mean, people like who is this Microsoft guy, Bill Gates, you know, and the rest of those people, they dropped out, right? And they are not in this generation per se.
Yeah.
You know, people like Two-Face even said he didn't finish school. You know, they turned out fine. You know, is it like, what is it about these people that make them think that they can hammer on this area more than the other older generation did not do?
So that's a very difficult question, because at the end of the day, no matter how you say it, like you said, there are examples of people that didn't take education that far and were still successful. But we're just listening to Bakassi, where he said there's a clear difference between an educated person and somebody who, because at the end of the day, all these Two-Face you're mentioning, all these Elon Musk, yes, at the point he was the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
But I would want to think they educated themselves somehow, some way else, rather than the formal education.
So that's where it comes to play now. People,
it's not like they just drop out of school and stop learning.
Yeah, so people are learning. What of the younger generation that are learning skills that don't really subscribe to the four walls of the formal education?
So how do you start?
Mean they are not educated?
How do you start learning skills as a teenager? So now, you know, we talked about our educational system being poor, not having relative subjects in school. Fine, agreed. But again, when you allow yourself to have at least the basic education, which I think most of these people we are giving an example had, it still helps your critical thinking. What we are missing in this generation is critical thinking and toughness.
Okay, so let me zero in on that. I personally don't like the idea of, or that theory, good old days, especially when it's used by the older people. They know why, because whose fault is it that the good old days did not transcend to the next generation? Exactly. So whoever is saying good old days, let it be your own nostalgic experience. Don't use it to impress the younger generations. I had this conversation with the professor, you know, sometime while I was in school, and he was telling me about the good old days, how things used to be, how, you know, everything was okay. And I said, excuse me, sir, I'm not impressed. You know, I wasn't there. You're telling me about good old days that you people squandered. Do you understand? It was your job to pass on these experiences, this culture, whatever it is, to the next generation. So whatever gap that there is, it was your fault. Like I said, the millennials are raising Gen Alpha, and we raise the next one. And then the same generation who is supposed to have experienced some things like that are raising weaker people. So these days, it's about feeling. It's about how I feel. Okay, yeah, I don't feel good about what you said. These days, you can't crack jokes anymore because somebody will be offended.
We are really sensitive.
We are raising a very weak and sensitive generation where if you want to scold somebody, you are afraid that it will damage their mental health.
Which is why, guys, my own opinion, there is something called the good old days, because it toughened me. It helped me understand that disagreements is not the end of the world. It helped me understand that even if my parents don't hear my opinion and they are imposing theirs on mine, I was still able to learn one or two things from their discipline. So again, it beholds on us as the current parent generation, or however to put it, to understand balance. again, there's time for you to be friendly with your kid. I mean, a lot of posts I see on X, one will be telling you, my kid is now inquisitive. He'll be telling me, oh, daddy, did God come down from heaven? Oh, daddy did. Now, in our own time, our parents can easily flip up.
No, you could not ask him. You could not ask.
So,
But
yeah,
here's
that's my point.
Here's the thing, rounding off. What about relationship between, not parenting now, relationship between millennials and Gen Z? It feels like there's a very serious conflict. You know, millennials, we feel like we are the best. I think we're the best generation because we experienced the best of both worlds. We're here before Twitter, Instagram, and everything. We saw VHS and the rest, letter writing, and things that Gen Z cannot relate with. So it seems like there's a beef between the millennials and the Gen Z.
I don't think it's a beef. I just think we don't like the way they think. We don't like how fragile they are. We don't like how free-spirited they are. Yeah. So we now think that I wasn't this free-spirited when I was growing up. So I wasn't this expressive when I was growing up.
So is it jealousy?
Of course.
So you mean that some millennials are jealous of the
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So because they enjoy this freedom that we didn't have. And I never thought of it like that. But it probably makes sense. Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you're a millennial, what do you think about the Gen Z and the way they express themselves? And the fact that it is still millennials that are raising Gen Alpha, who, by the way, I think will be worse than Gen Z. You know, whatever you think you have seen, you're going to see worse. And it's very instructive that you said maybe it's jealousy. Yeah. So if you're a Gen Z, do you think that millennials are jealous of your freedom and your expression and everything? And do you think that your generation, the way you are, is actually how you're supposed to be?
Do you even believe that the millennials are the best generation?
No, they will not believe. Yeah, but even the older generations can attest to that. We taught them internet. But let me know what you think in the comment section. Tell us what generation you belong to, and tell us what makes your generation special, and what do you think that is lacking in the generation after yours, you know, or
even the generation you're existing
in
now.
Your own generation or before, whatever it is. Let us know. Do you believe in good old days?
Right. I do.
I personally have a problem with it, but let's know what you think about it. Put it in the comment section, right? And then like this video, share, comment, whatever you need to do. Subscribe also, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Oga Peter here.
I'm Benga.
Thank you. See you on the next one.